Greetings from Kampala in Uganda. It's a new week and time for some more thoughts from the Bible today. It is truly amazing to me how much there is to uncover in this wonderful, wonderful book. I'm sure I can read the same passage 99 times and then I go back to it on the 100th time and suddenly there's something completely new and absolutely mind-blowing in that little verse. And that's kind of the experience that I had recently while reading in the Old Testament, when I was reading 2 Kings chapter 11 and verse 17, which says this. Then Jehoiada made a covenant between the Lord and the king and the people that they would be the Lord's people. It's just a tiny little verse, but what an absolutely amazing covenant to have made. We will be God's own people. He will be our God, and we are making a new agreement, a new commitment right now in this moment to that effect. Now, the books of Kings and Chronicles in the Bible can feel a little bit like a roller coaster at times. You know, we hear a long list of monarchs for the countries of Israel and Judah, and sometimes things seem to be going really well, and then everything crashes down to ground again when the country is ravaged by invading armies or some other disaster after the people had turned away from their God and started to worship the gods of the neighboring countries, doing some pretty detestable acts in the process. And there are some kings who are pretty good, do some good things for their people. There are some who are absolutely terrible. And then there are a whole lot who are kind of in the middle, who maybe profess to worship God, but their actions aren't entirely wholehearted, shall we say. Or kings who start well but end not so good by the close of their reign. Now, the nation of Judah had a pretty turbulent time after its king Ahaziah was killed. His mother, Athaliah, decided to seize power for herself, and she ruthlessly destroyed, she murdered anyone who in the royal family who could counter her claim to the throne, even children. But one son of Ahaziah was rescued, however, a child named Joash. And one very brave priest, a man called Jehoiada, who we've already heard from, decided to bring out the king's son and to declare him as king in open opposition of Athaliah. And the 7-year-old Joash was crowned king. Athaliah herself was killed in the process following the brutality of her own reign that caused the people to turn against her. But Joash was a little bit too young to reign on his own at 7 years old. And so Jehoiada helped to run the nation of Judah as the advisor to Joash. And it was at this point, just after Joash was crowned king, that this amazing covenant was made. Now, one thing I love about this, understanding the situation the country was in when they made this new commitment, coming after quite a low time in the nation of Judah's history. It's good to have an understanding of how everything was at the time, because these people, this nation of Judah, had never stopped being God's chosen people. God hadn't revoked that, despite the many, many mistakes that they had made in turning away from him. And yet they decided to make a new commitment, a fresh commitment, a renewed covenant to reconfirm that they would be God's people. No more idols, nothing more important to us than God himself. Well, that's so easy to say, isn't it? Yes, I believe in God. Of course, I'm a Christian. He is the most important thing to me. Of course he is. And yet we so easily place other things as more important in our lives. You know, of course I trust God to provide for me. What do you take me for? Oh, well, I'm not really willing to give that bit of money away because, I might need it one day, so I'm just going to hang on to that. Of course, I believe that God knows what's best for my life, but I think I might just ignore this particular instruction because this feels better to me doing it my way. How often is our faith swayed by other people or by our circumstances? It always amazes me in these stories in the Old Testament that we read as soon as the king decided on a course for the country, that the people quite happily went along with it, even if it meant forsaking the God of their ancestors. And the other way too, how often the kings themselves were swayed from their course by the people that they were listening to. It's all too easy to let our commitment, to let our covenant with God slip. And this did happen to Joash, in fact. Once his mentor and advisor, Jehoiada, had died, then Joash abandoned God, we're told in Chronicles. He even ended up killing the son of Jehoiada when he brought a message to Joash from God that the king didn't like very much. It is so easy to allow influences to distance us from God. That's why a little verse like the one that I read out earlier is so important, because it's a reminder that we need to frequently renew our commitment to God and to ensure that there is nothing getting in the way of our relationship with Him. It's a reminder that it doesn't matter if we have made mistakes and turned away from God, we can always return to Him. It is never, ever too late to do that. And it's a reminder that God is always willing to hear us when we come with a heartfelt desire to connect with Him again. So whether you're in a dip or a high place on that roller coaster of life right now, this is still so good to remember, because it's always possible to reconnect and to recommit to God, to reaffirm that you are the Lord's person, regardless of what is going on in your life right now, regardless of what people may be saying, what circumstances dictate that you should do. You can still say, today, I am the Lord's person. What an amazing commitment that would be to make at the start of every day. This day, whatever happens, I am saying right now that I am the Lord's person. And I know that as I make this commitment with Him, that I can trust in all of the promises that He has made and walk confidently in the life that He has called me to live. Reconnect with Him, recommit to Him each and every day. It is a good practice to start each day with, this day, this is the Lord's day in my life. Thank you so much for joining me here today. There'll be new videos on Wednesday and Friday this week as well, so please do come and join and listen, comment, like, share, whatever you want to do. It would be great to explore the Bible with you some more in this coming week and in the weeks following. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.